All right, welcome back today. Today we are working on lesson H-4.5 squares and square roots. Our essential question is, how do you find squares and square roots? All right, taking the square root of a number is the inverse, or another word for inverse is opposite, of squaring the number. So 6 squared, what does that actually mean? 6 squared means 6 times 6, not 6 times 2, 6 times 6. All right, it's just a shortened way of saying 6 times 6. That equals 36. Well, in order to undo the square, or to do the opposite, we take the square root. So what's the square root sign mean of 36? It means what times itself will give us 36. Well, 6 times itself gives us 36. The numbers 16, 36, and 49 are some examples of perfect squares. A perfect square is a number that has integers as its square roots. So integers are whole numbers. Other perfect squares include 1, 4, 9, 25, 64, and 81. Every positive number has 2 square roots, one positive and one negative. One square root of 16 is 4, since you can do 4 times 4. That equals 16. The other square root is negative 4, since negative 4 times negative 4 is also 16. You can write the square roots as a plus or a minus. So it's hard to see. So I'm going to rewrite it here. We can do plus or minus. So it's a plus or minus 4. Why? Because it's a positive 4 and a negative 4 is an answer. Let's go practice that. So find the 2 square roots of each number. So what is the square root of 49? So what times itself gives us 49? Well, 7 times 7. But also, we could do negative 7, because negative 7 times negative 7 is also 49. So we could say plus or minus 7. Those are the 2 different numbers. So 7 and negative 7, because we want to find 2 square roots. Part B, what's the square root of 100? Well, what times itself? That would be 10 and negative 10. Or if we want to say plus or minus 10. Okay, well, what about 225? If you don't know, we could use our calculator. So we plug in the square root button by hitting second square, so that's the square root, and then 225, and you get 15. Now the calculator only tells us the positive one, so we have to know that negative 15 times negative 15 is also 225. So plus or minus 15. Square root of 25, what times itself will give us 25, 5, but also negative 5. So plus or minus 5. 144, another one you might not know. So use your calculator. Plug it into your calculator to get what times itself will give us 144. Well, the calculator gives us 12. But we know that that's not the only answer. It's also a negative 12. So it's plus or minus 12. Oops. There we go. All right. There's a weird 12. I'm going to fix it. All right. Square root of 289. What is that going to be? Hopefully you use your calculator. And you got 17. But we also know we need the negative because there's 2 square roots, so plus or minus 17. All right, reminder, pause the video as you have to. Okay, a square window has an area of 169 square inches. How wide is the window? So let's think about a square window. So if we have this big square window, all of the sides are exactly the same. So that side's the same as this side's the same as all the other sides, because it's a square. So if the whole area is 169, we can take the square root of 169 to get each side. So the square root of 169 is 13. So square root of 169 is 13. All right. Now, that means that this side's 13, this side's 13, and it's square inches, so we're going to say it's inches. 13 inches. This side's 13 because it's one big square. Now, why don't we use the negative? Well, the negative has no meaning here because you can't have a negative length. So the only answer you need is the positive 13. All right, let's go to the next one. Maybe you want to try this one on your own. Pause the video. All right, hopefully you tried it. A square-shaped kitchen table has an area of 16 square feet. So let's draw this table again. So it has an area of 16 square feet. Okay. Will it fit through a van door that has a 5-foot wide opening? So we want it to fit through 5-foot wide opening. So we need to know what are the sides. So if we take the square root of 16, we get that the sides are 4 feet. So will it fit? Yes, it will fit. I have 1 foot of wiggle room. All right, how about these ones? Evaluate the expression. That means solve the expressions. So in order to solve these, we need to follow order of operations. We treat the square root sign like parentheses. So we're going to use PEMDAS. PEMDAS. So what's the first thing? Parentheses. Well, like I just said, the square root of 36 is like parentheses. Got to do that first. So we have 3 times, well, what is the square root of 36? So what times itself? That's 6 plus 7. All right, do I multiply or add first? We multiply first, according to them. So 3 times 6 is 18 plus 7. So 18 plus 7 is going to be 25. All right, how about you try the next one on your own? All right, hopefully you paused it. You try it on your own. If you didn't, make sure to pause it now. Like on this last one, we're going to treat the square root sign like parentheses, and that's first over here. So 2 times square root of 25 is 5 plus 4. Then we do multiply, then add. So multiply 2 times 5 is 10 plus 4 is 14. All right, so let's go to the next ones. Ooh, here's a funny looking one. We have, first off, it says evaluate the expression, which means solve. So we have square root of 25 and 16. We can do both of those. So what is 25, the square root of 25 and the square root of 16? Well, the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 16 is 4 plus 3/4. Now we add 5 plus 3 is 8/4, and simplify that to be just 2. All right, well, this one looks kind of similar, kind of the same. But when we take the square root of 18, it's not a perfect square. Same with 2. So what do we do? Well, we can do 18 divided by 2 because that's inside the parentheses, right? Couldn't do that here because it wasn't a perfect, or they weren't, they didn't go into each other. 16 didn't go into 25. So let's do 18 divided by 2. What is 18 divided by 2? That is 9 plus 1/4. What is square root of 9? That is 3 plus 1/4. And 3 plus 1/4 is just 3 1/4. All right. The rest of this is kind of like a quick little review. So let's go through it. Find the 2 square roots. So what is the square root of 81? That is 9, but it's also a negative 9 because negative 9 times negative 9 is 81. So plus or minus 9. Oh, you might need a calculator on this one. Okay, the square root of 2,500. Did you use a calculator? Did you check it? Maybe you didn't even need it. It is 50. But it's also negative 50. So that becomes a plus or minus 50. Evaluate means to solve. So square root of 16. Treat it like parentheses. PEMDAS here. Whoops, PEMDAS. So parentheses is the same as exponents, or as the same as square root. So 3 times 4, because square root of 16 is 4, plus 1. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Well, here we have two parentheses, or what we call two radicals, or two square roots. So the square root of 9 is 3, minus 2 times the square root of 49 is 7. Now we multiply before subtracting, so 7 times 3 is 21, minus 2 times 7 is 14. And now we subtract and we get 7. Last one. Mr. Stefan wants to put a fence around 3 sides of a square garden that has an area of 225 feet squared. So she has a square garden and she wants to put fencing around 3 sides. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a house on this side. So we're not going to include this side. We want this side, we want this side, and we want this side. So the whole thing is 225. So if we take the square root, we'll find out how much each side is. So the square root of 225, what do we get when we do the square root of 225? It is 15. So if each side is 15, we need times 3 because he's only putting it on 3 sides. So 45 feet of fence. All right, that's it for today. Best of luck on your homework.